Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. We're not going to go into today's market action in this video. I'm not going to even talk about the CPI numbers that were just released. Today we're just going to stick to physical silver because markets have been very volatile, very crazy lately. Lots of volatility. I told you about that Fed report the other day about how liquidity is drying up in certain markets, and that puts the risk of a major market event at a higher level than normal. But the good thing is, even though we've seen the price of silver, at least the paper price of silver, dropping, and the physical price too, premiums remain elevated, but you can still go out and buy silver today cheaper than you could last week. Even though assets have been selling off, the other day I sat down and I took out some of my silver stack, the stuff I have on hand, and I counted it up, and the good news was there's still the same number of ounces there. That's why the only thing that really crosses my mind when I see the paper price of silver dropping is that I can add to my stack at a cheaper price, because I am not overly concerned about the paper price, the number of dollars I can exchange my physical stack for, because that's not why I am stacking silver. You don't stack silver with the hope of making a short-term profit, because it's really not a good vehicle for that. If you want to speculate on the price of silver, go buy some SLV, go buy some miners, go buy some options on the SLV if you really want to speculate on the price movements in the short term. Because physical silver, that's not what physical silver is for. You don't buy physical silver with the intent to sell it in 6 months or a year or even 5 years. You buy physical silver to have more ounces of real money, because you're going to want all of those ounces. You're going to want some real money when we reach the end game for the current system, because that is not going to be a pretty end game. There is so much leverage, there is so much debt. The Fed has backed itself into this impossible corner that we know it cannot exit. Maybe they can keep this system running for a while longer, but I believe that the end game is already pretty much written in stone. I don't think there's any way that we can get back to a quote unquote normal economy without either the dollar getting hyperinflated away, or without some kind of a massive systemic debt crisis where all of this debt it has to be defaulted on. Because if the Fed wants to avoid that, they're going to have to create a lot more liquidity, they're going to have to print a lot more money. Even those short-term moves in the market can be very difficult to predict, and the shorter the time frame, the more difficult that is. And a lot of very short-term movements, talking intraday or daily, a lot of that stuff is governed by randomness. It really is, I believe. But in the long term, the fundamentals do win out, and when you can see that a system is not sustainable, and it's clearly that way, you know what they say, things that aren't sustainable won't be sustained. And we hear all this talk about how the U.S. economy is improving and how the economic recovery is moving right along and we have a strong U.S. economy. But a lot of the voices that we're hearing this stuff from, they benefit if the American public believes that. So it's not like there's some kind of an unbiased, obviously for politicians who are in power, and I'm not going to name anybody specifically because I have a feeling that the YouTube algorithm doesn't really like that very much at the moment. There's some reasons I say that. Some of the videos where I talk about specific folks in the power structure, they don't get a lot of views, and I noticed that they get a lot less impressions by the algorithm. So we're not going to name any names in this video, but they obviously stand to benefit if they can spread the idea that the economy is doing well under their watch. And then the same thing goes for bankers. The folks over at the Fed. Makes their job a lot easier if investors remain confident in markets. As long as investors remain confident that everything is fine, there aren't any real problems. It's just when people start to take the blindfolds off and they start to become aware of what's really going on in the economy that we run the risk of the kind of crisis that the Fed is going to be unable to deal with, without destroying the dollar moving forward. But I'm just kind of rambling in this video, guys, to be honest with you. But I really just wanted to point out that physical silver, we don't stack it to make a quick buck. You don't stack silver because it's going to go up overnight in a big way. I've been stacking silver for over a decade now, and obviously, the price now, I believe my dollar cost average, if I were to run the numbers, is below the current price or close to it. But there are other things I could have been investing in that would have had a better yield. And with the benefit of hindsight, of course, that's easy to say. But the problem is that when you have a system like we have today, where it's unsustainable and clearly so, that you never know when the bottom's going to fall out of the market. I mean, you never know when the Fed's going to reach that crisis that they can't respond to without destroying the dollar. And I think that day is getting closer and closer as we move along here. Now, when is the judgment day for the dollar and for our current fiat currency standard going to come? I think it's very difficult to put a date on that, but it isn't difficult to see that that is the ultimate fate of the current system and that that is the end game that we're looking at. And so, if you want to speculate, like I said, go out and buy some paper assets. Those are appropriate for speculation. And, good luck to you if you do that. I hope that you make some profits and, maybe you can turn some of those profits into real money like physical gold and silver. But if you really just want an asset that you don't have to worry about, you don't have to really watch the value of as a ticker moves up and down, physical silver is great for that because, again, I'm not really too concerned about the dollar value of my physical silver. All I'm really interested is how many ounces I'm holding, because I think that's the number that is really going to matter when it comes down to it, when we reach the final end game for the dollar and for our current economic system. So if you're getting stressed out by what's going on in the paper markets, if you're getting stressed out watching your 401k decline in value, if you're getting stressed out watching the paper price of silver drop, now, for me, again, I don't really get stressed out when I see the paper price of silver drop. I get excited because I know, hey, here's a great opportunity to buy silver at an even cheaper price. And of course, none of this is investment advice. I'm not telling all of you what to do or how to invest your money. I'm just telling you how I view things. But, knowing how undervalued precious metals are, knowing just how precipitous of a position the dollar is in, all I'm really interested in is the number of ounces that I've got in my stack. And I think that's the number that's important to focus on, not the paper price of the metal or any of that. And again, if you're speculating, that's not quite the same thing, but that's why I am stacking. And at the end of the day, if you've got a lot of paper profits in a trading account, or if you've got a bunch of dollars sitting in a bank account, I don't think that that is really going to benefit you too much when we reach the end game. So even though paper assets, for the past 10 years or so, have been doing better than precious metals, if you haven't locked in those gains and converted at least some of those into real money, I think that when we do reach the end of this cycle that we're currently in, you're not going to be as ahead as you might think you are. So anyway, again, I'm just kind of rambling on. I'll go ahead and finish this video up, but I just want to thank all of you for watching. And if you guys like this video, do please click that like button down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing to the channel, because like I mentioned, a lot of these videos I think are not getting favored very much by the YouTube algorithm. If I wanted to get just a lot of views, I could come out here and tell you that everything was fine in the economy and everything was booming and it was going to do great, maybe plug some crypto, maybe plug some other paper investments, and the algorithm would probably like me a lot more, but that's not really how I feel about things. I am a big fan of physical, tangible assets like precious metals. I don't think the economy is doing great. Because of that, the only way these videos really get out there is if you guys give me a good like, give me a share, give me a subscribe. I really appreciate all of you who have been watching for a long time and you do tune into these videos. And I will catch you next time. Stay safe and happy stacking. Smart Silver Stacker, out.